The real reason behind Novak Djokovic's visa cancellation have been revealed, with Immigration Minister Alex Hawke saying his presence in Australia may foster anti-vaccination sentiment. After an interview at a secret location on Saturday morning, the world number one was held by border force, and his lawyers launched their legal campaign to prevent his deportation. His case has been remanded to the Federal Court of Australia, and will be heard at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. Mr. Hawke stated on Friday that he had cancelled Djokovic's visa for the second time, citing a long list of grounds, including Djokovic's apparent disrespect for isolation after a positive test result. According to court documents, I consider Mr. Djokovic's continued presence in Australia may lead to an increase in anti-vaccination sentiment generated in the Australian community, potentially leading to an increase in civil unrest of the kind previously experienced in Australia with rallies and protests, which may themselves be a source of community transmission. He went on to say that Djokovic's anti-vaccination position could lead to others refusing to be vaccinated, strengthening the ideas of the unvaccinated. Mr. Hawke presented no evidence to back his decision that Mr. Djokovic's presence in Australia may foster anti-vaccination sentiment, according to Djokovic's lawyers. It was not within the minister's authority to make such determination, they claimed. Mr. Hawke also mentioned a two-day interview with a French publication that the tennis player had 2 days after testing positive for COVID. Djokovic had previously addressed the issue, calling it a misjudgment. Given Mr. Djokovic's high profile and role as a role model in the sporting and broader communities, his continued presence in Australia may inspire similar disdain for the precautionary procedures following receipt of a positive COVID-19 test in Australia, said the immigration minister. Djokovic also constituted a danger to the good order of the Australian community, according to Mr. Hawke, because his presence in Australia may cause public disruption to Australian principles. He also stated that those who have not been vaccinated are at a higher risk of contracting the virus and spreading it throughout the community. I believe that cancelling Mr. Djokovic's visa would be in the public interest, he said. These issues are critical to the survival of many members of the general public's life and health, as well as the maintenance of Australia's health system, which is under increasing strain in the current pandemic situation, Mr. Hawke said. Judge David O'Callaghan presided over the online federal court hearing at his attorney's offices at 10:15 a.m., during which Djokovic's counsel delivered their submissions. The court was unable to reach an agreement on whether the hearing will be heard in front of a full court, and the subject will be decided later today. The 34-year-old sportsman has since been taken to jail, where he will spend the night until his next court appearance on Sunday at 9:30 a.m., only 1 day before the Australian Open begins. If his petition is unsuccessful, the tennis legend will be deported, and a new Australian visa will be denied to him for 3 years. According to legal experts, challenging a visa cancellation decision made personally by the immigration minister would be difficult, if not impossible, for Djokovic. Protests are expected, and the federal government can expect international retaliation for its decision, particularly from Serbia. The issue began on January 5, when the megastar flew into Melbourne Airport, claiming a vaccine exemption due to a positive PCR test result on December 16. Border agents turned down his exemption, tore up his visa, and detained him for 4 nights in a notorious Melbourne detention centre. For foreign nationals attempting to enter the country, the federal government argues that a recent infection does not qualify them for a vaccine exemption. Because border officials at the airport had neglected to give him the agreed-upon time to respond, Djokovic's top-flight legal team radically overturned the visa decision. He was released, but he later acknowledged to lying on his travel entry form, which indicated he had not travelled in the 14 days leading up to his arrival in Melbourne, while having visited Spain. Djokovic has also admitted to breaking Serbia's isolation restrictions after learning on December 16 that he had tested positive for the virus. He said that while infected with COVID, he was interviewed in person by a French publication and blamed his agent for administrative error on his trip admission form.